Good afternoon. Thank you guys for braving the weather and coming out today. We appreciate it. I'm Michael Moore. I'm the Director of Marketing for the San Francisco Design Center. And this is a conversation that I have been looking forward to having for quite some time. I think Eric and I started talking about the topic, a year ago? The intersection of technology and design, I think, is a fascinating and fertile topic for conversation. We have Mary Jo Bowling from Luxe Interiors Design to facilitate that conversation today with Eric Chang, Hellman-Chang, and Noz Nozawa from Noz Design. So without any further ado, please take up, you know what, sorry, one more thing. Thank you, Sloan Miyasato, for the beautiful stage vignette. There are several pieces from Eric's collection, and you can see those upstairs in their showroom. And once this is over, please join us for a progressive reception on the first floor at Riggs, Cosentino, and Schumacher. Take it away.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Thank you, everyone, for coming. Michael, I don't want to embarrass you, but you did forget to introduce someone on the stage. I'd like to introduce the newest member of the San Francisco design community. I give you Ernie. Yeah. And, you know, just when I think I've been around so long, I've done it all, I've never had a dog on a panel before. I'm going to ask Ernie some questions. We'll see what she has to say. But what we are talking about today is rapidly changing technology is forcing design pros to consider changing the way they do business or the way they think about things. And in addition to giving clients more access to design sources and resources, technology is also giving design pros the tools that they need to share their vision and to bring it to life. And so our 2 or 3 design pros are going to tell us how you're navigating the current climate. All right, so let's start with the obvious question. Thanks to technology, consumers have more access to like I said, design sources and resources and pricing than ever before. So with an empowered consumer or client, what can go right and what can go wrong when it comes to a knowledgeable client or customer? Noz, you want to start?
Sure. Hello. Thanks, everyone, for being here in spite of the rain. And also thank you for bearing with my dog on stage. She's very attached to me. And puppy school was canceled for her this week, so that's why she's here. This is not professional. This is not peak professionalism, but I'm here. And I'm 100% with you. So with regard to an empowered consumer, a client who has access to the vastness and infinity of information on the internet, I am definitely on the side of more information, and a more knowledgeable consumer base is better. So that is a non-negotiable for me. I feel very, very strongly that it makes for better and better educated decisions. It means that the more pricing information is out there, the more people can get used to seeing that a proper dining chair should start around $3,000. And that's why you don't buy crap from Amazon that breaks in 6 months, and then after the course of 10 years, you've ended up spending the same as if you would have just bought the good stuff 10 years earlier, and then you get to actually have it as an heirloom that has quality and you experience that. So I think so many things go right when a consumer has more information. That's certainly the case for our clients. We're very happy to share where things come from. We're very happy to give them more information than they even want. And actually, a lot of times we find that it's so much information that they're like, actually, I'm done. I trust you. Please, I'm just gonna say yes. Just do the thing. We know that you know what you're talking about. So those for me are the things that feel, for us, the way that our team does business, it feels intuitive now. I think it's probably more intuitive to imagine the things that go wrong, right? Like the ways that they start arguing about, you know, oh, well, I found this thing that looks the same, or like, oh, I found this from this other place for less than your source, because there's lots of places on the internet that'll sell it for below the cost that a manufacturer is even going to allow you to. Can I leverage that? And you're like, well, no, because like the business isn't run that way, and we have no idea if the vendor is even trustworthy. Are they even going to ship this thing? Do they have the relationship with the actual manufacturer in order to make sure that if something goes wrong, that there's a person there, there's a rep to stand behind it? My thinking, though, is that all things that could go wrong with a consumer who has more knowledge are entirely resolvable with the right explanations, the right education, right? And so again here, consumers should also be clients, our clients. So, sorry also if you're like hearing her snoring get picked up
Oh,
on my
no, no,
mic.
that's me.
Is that
No,
okay?
yeah.
She's very loud here.
Yeah.
I think one of the things that we should think about as an industry with regard to a more empowered or a better educated client base is also them actually having a deep appreciation for everything that we do. There are so many clients, because we work so often with clients who are hiring an interior designer, meaning us, for their very first time. They kind of think like, oh, we just sort of pick stuff and then we show it to them. And then I don't know what happens after that, like you tell me, right? They don't actually have a deep understanding that the sweeping majority of what we do in a given year time frame is actually the execution stuff. It's the wrangling the vendors and the purchase orders and the handling of all this stuff and fixing stuff before they even had to know that something arrived broken, and then getting it to the receiver, having it installed, the fact that this arrived in a wooden crate and you will never figure out how to get rid of this thing on your own. All of that stuff should also be a part of an educated consumer base, an educated client base, in order for them to then understand, it doesn't matter that I know what this costs on this random retailer site. It matters that I don't need to deal with that. Mm-hmm. That an interior designer and their vendors and their relationships are going to make this process seamless and beautiful and exciting and frankly fun, and it should be luxurious. You know, I want my clients to know that when they call any interior designer, they are going to be taken care of at the level of care that they're paying for. And I think all of that's good. So I'm very opinionated about this.
Yeah. And Eric, what do you think? Technology is putting it out there, opening doors. Good or bad?
Very good, I think. I mean, we're at kind of like an inflection point in consumer culture where I think in, pre-1990s where opacity meant exclusivity with our industry, that's just no longer the case. When I came in the industry in 2008, I saw that and I was just kind of blown away by that culture, because I came from an online marketing background. I had an advertising agency in New York, so the contrast between the two industries was shocking. It was about consumer empowerment, consumer knowledge. So I knew that that model of opacity was just not sustainable for the next generation of consumers. And then we go through COVID, and it's really kind of fast-tracked this process. And we've got millennials now who are becoming the biggest spenders in our home industry, and they just operate on a different level. And when there is not clarity and transparency, it results in mistrust. And we've got this opportunity where the door is opening up a little bit. If we decide to close it now, it's going to be very, very hard to get them back. Another great element of that is, they care more about design than ever. So, social media has allowed us to kind of break down the barriers and level the playing field when it comes to communicating with them. This is our chance to educate them. So for Hellman-Chang, I always saw that as an opportunity to have a clear brand vision where consumers could come and interact. And I'll tell you, I get phone calls all the time from end clients who inquire about furniture. And I can very quickly explain to them why they need to hire an interior designer. Right, this dining table is the cost of a luxury car. I'm not going to deal with it if there's buyer's remorse, right? You want to hire someone to guide you through that process. You can't get a refund. You can't cancel the order once we start. You're going to wait, 16, 18 weeks for your product. You want someone that's trained to take you through those steps. And immediately when I say that, they say, okay, I get it. No questions asked. So the leap to get to the value of the interior designer is very, very fast, especially from an educated and empowered consumer.
Yeah. Now, this mindset has led you at Hellman-Chang to develop some new technologies in-house that are going to allow clients to access everything you have and easily share it with clients. So I know you have a video to show us. So why don't you tell us about this new technology and why and how you developed it, and give us a demonstration of how it's going to work.
Certainly. We can click over to the demo. I've been working on this for the last, I'd say, year and a half. I know a lot of designers roll their eyes and they worry about what technology is going to mean for them. It means a lot of different things for different verticals within our industry. Number one, it's meant to remove friction and make the process easier. So I can only control what I can control. And from where I stand, I see issues as a manufacturer in information sharing, pricing, fragmentation, all those elements, and it is so archaic that it takes so many phone calls and conversations from a designer to the showroom to us just to know what's available, what's possible, and a price. So this is an example of this 3D configurator that we've been working on. This is the Natalia nightstand. So it's on every product page. We're kind of implementing piece by piece. But essentially, Hellman-Chang is very customizable. Just with the standard options, there's over 130,000 standard configurations for this table. So it's a lot to navigate through. But in a matter of 5 or 6 clicks, you can get to any one of them to visually see it. So here's the Natalia nightstand. You start off by picking your frame finish. As you see here, we can pick on Arctic Oak. You scroll down to the next step. And what's great is you can spin this around any way you need to. You can zoom in, get some detail, right? Scrolling down, the next step is the frame finish. And you can come up with obscene combinations. Let's do Arctic Oak here. And then scrolling down, the next step is we have Nova Suede drawer options that you can add to every drawer box. And so you can toggle that on and off as you see fit. And then the next step being if you want to add inset stone to the top, that's also on and off. And you can see different stone options there. Let's turn it off for this one. And then the last step, you can pick any metal finish for the metal accents. So great way for you to visualize what you're going to get. Obviously, this is a 3D rendering. It's not super photorealistic, but we've really upped the size of our finish samples, so any designer can really see what they're going to get when they put an order through. And then lastly, you can create a custom tear sheet, and I think this is really valuable. Right here, we can put in your design firm. You can put in the side mark for your project. It'll have the date pre-populated. This is your chance to add in any customization requests, whether it's size, finish, design, utility. And there will be a function to upload a PDF or a JPEG if there's something that you want to graphically show us. You click Submit, and this is fun. You can customize your tear sheet by picking the view that you want. So I'll say, take screenshot, submit, and here you go. This is your custom tear sheet. It's got your design firm, your side mark, the date, your unique quote ID number. You scroll down, there's my screenshot. And then below that are all the features that you selected. So really quick and easy, you can file this away. And then below that is the unique quote. And this will be sent to the local showroom, so they have it, so they can send you the official quote when they get back in. So if you want to do this Saturday night, 11 o'clock, you have access to it. And it labels and itemizes every detail that you selected. Now, another fun element of this is it will generate a custom QR code for you. Now, I know that this technology is out there. It's on e-commerce sites like CB2, West Elm. But essentially, this QR code you can give to your client, or you can use it yourself, but you can view the piece that you created in augmented reality. You can drop it in a room, as you see here. You can orient it any way you want, and you can get up close and personal with your iPhone or your iPad. So if this is something that you want to show your client, you can go ahead and send it to them. Hey, put it in your house. Tell me how you feel about it. It uses dynamic lighting, so if there's a chandelier or a window, it'll kind of work with the light in the room. So it's great. Again, 130,000 combinations. You can create all of them and see them in real time in 3D. So that's something that we're working on. It's probably take a few more months to go through the entire line, but I haven't calculated the total number of potential configurations. It's a lot.
Yeah. And 14 weeks later, I get the table.
There
right?
you go.
And I wonder, so in your mind, how do you envision exactly, how's the designer going to use this? How's the showroom going to use it? How's the end user, the client, going to use this? What's the most valuable takeaway?
Well, I think if you work with anyone under the age of 30 right now, picking up the phone and talking to a person is terrifying, right? Like
My team doesn't pick up the phone. Only Kyle. Kyle on the phone.
Kyle,
is
job.
That's like our superpower. Everybody else is like, or I'm just going to try and find the answer online. I'm like, how much time did you just burn?
Right.
Did you call somebody? So yeah, 100%.
Right. And in this industry, you can't find anything online, right? So just to make this information accessible to registered designers on the website is extremely valuable in that sense. And we immediately share that information with the showroom. You can call them, you can speak with them about it, you can follow with their in real life relationship on top of that. So this is strictly just removing the friction about access of information.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Now, Noz, when you were talking, it's very clear that you're passionate about transparency. And I'm wondering, how do you use and what kind of technology do you use to share information with your clients? And exactly what kind of information and pricing? How does that look like with
Yeah.
that technology?
Well, this is a spicy topic that a lot of people have
get
really
spicy.
they've really frowned at me in the past. So our business model is freakish. We don't take markup. That's very spicy. We can have a whole other conversation about that. But the reason for that notwithstanding, the main thing that it allows us to do is just link things very simply to our clients to be able to look at anything that we're proposing for them to say yes to. And our goal is basically, right, because my goal is not to make all the money. My goal is to do the best, most bangers projects that are absolutely spectacular, that make me get out of bed, that make my heart just like scream with joy that I get to do this, and then like cry because I made it very complicated. So as a result of that, we use technology where we basically give our clients all the information. Like we just show them these are the parts, right? Like look behind the wizard's curtain. These are all the things that went into this design concept. So first off, we use, perspective illustrations. We use a combination of SketchUp, Revit with Enscape for photorealistic overlays, Photoshop, and like regular CAD. But most of our illustrations, especially for furniture projects, are a combination of SketchUp, volumes of the room. We figure out a perspective that works well for us to convey the story that we want to tell. And then we use Photoshop on top of the SketchUp model to be able to really convey using photographs of the pieces or screenshots of the renders, because actually being able to turn it would save us so much time. So many times we're like faking from a face-on view, we like fake angled profile to be able to get it into the perspective that we want. But in addition to showing that as kind of this is our illustration, this is what we want to make come to life for you, we also just have thumbnails of every single item that our clients are looking at in the room so that they can go as deep or stay as far away from the details as they want. And that gives them the latitude to just sort of figure out how intimately do I want to know what's in this round or in this design before I feel comfortable saying yes. Because our main goal with all of the things that we do to present to our clients is to make it very easy for a client to say yes. We've already done a lot of the groundwork, a lot of the pre-work, right, the relationship building, to have established and to begun earning a big foundation of trust with our clients with regard to telling them how things are going to go, giving them a lot of information before they have to start making decisions so that they know what are they actually saying yes to and how final is that yes, and it's very final. So yeah, the fact that we kind of give them all of the information that they might need to feel safe and comfortable and then excited about saying yes, we feel it makes our design process go really well. And so in a case of a website where they would be linked to the Natalia console or the foundation table, and they can spin it around and look at it and toggle through sections, yeah, it might open up some conversation from them, like, oh my God, like, I really liked that whitewash finish, but what if we did the like ceruse this with the pink, and I'm like, okay, well now you have a whole bunch of options, but you're also probably going to be deeply overwhelmed with most of them. And most clients want to be taken care of. Because of the vastness of the internet, they know that a lot of our clients are very self-aware. They recognize they have limited time and very specific goals, and those goals require them to be able to move forward. And so having every choice out there is actually not fun. That's not a good thing. And we should make sure that they know that having too many choices is actually bad. That's an actively bad situation for them. It's our job to be experts in our subject matter, and then to be able to curate that world for them to make the best recommendations possible. So if they go through and they're like, oh my God, I love the foundation or the fountain table, but like, could we explore it in this finish? If it doesn't break the design and it makes them feel like they had a hand in making a choice, and they were able to do that with very little pain from us because they're not, hey, can you actually, like, we heard about this finish, could you like Photoshop that for us and then send it in a separate email and we're gonna lose it before we say it. Like, they can go in and look at that table, toggle around the options, and then decide for themselves, hey, this doesn't feel like that far off, but I like this one a little better. And I'm happy to say yes to that. And then they say yes because they actually chose something, right? Like the fallacy of choice and free will. That's another conversation. Our clients surrender free will. It is in our contract. And then we move forward, right? And then they're obsessed. that is really reassuring for us. And for technology to be able to do that is really powerful.
Yeah.
Because it just saves us headache, you know?
Yeah. Now, for all this, you mentioned, limiting the choices. And when we spoke earlier, you were talking about, for all their talk about opening the curtains, there's some windows that should stay shut. So,
Yes.
so what else besides giving a somewhat edited view? What other information do you hold back?
So this is story time. A very real thing that happened was we thought it would be a great idea to give our clients, because there is a client version, there's a client mode for our project management software where we keep track of all of our specs and all the details and the pricing. We thought that might be a good idea to implement into our processes, where we would give our clients access to the client mode. And boy, did that suck. That was not a good idea. That was, in fact, too much power. Because as much as we want our clients to know what they're saying yes to when they're in the design process, where it's about ideas and fun and needing to feel like there's some amount of autonomy that they get to play around in, when it comes to you've made approvals, we are now moving forward with implementation. That was where we realized a lot of bad things, very bad things, happened to us on behalf of our clients. They just went in and they were just like, oh, well, in that case, I have all these other questions. And I don't even know, I mean, like Kyle could better answer a lot of this stuff. Like, there was just so much stuff that came up.
Yeah.
And then they would have all these questions about shipping costs because they weren't in there or it was a rough estimate. And I was like, can you stop? Like, we don't make money on the shipment. Like, that's not a part of the process. And even if we did, we already budgeted for that. Like, please calm down. Like, you don't need to know how all of this happens. You just need to understand before we get started that a tremendous amount of work is going on. And you should leave us alone so we can do that work for you. So that was a big learning.
Yeah.
They do not need to know how the sausage is made. That's a negative experience for everybody.
Yeah. And Eric, what about you? Is there anything that you think should not be client-facing?
In terms of the end consumer?
Yeah.
From a manufacturing standpoint, no. I think there is a lot of romance because we're making a passion product. Consumers these days, they love to see the process. I think it tells the story, it adds value to the product, it adds value to how they live with the product and tell their friends about it. So we love to give studio tours to designers and their end clients. I've never had an end client walk through where afterwards they're like, you know what? That wasn't for me. It's done. It's a very easy sale for the designer after that. So we love peeling back the curtain on our end because we know that the product is made with a lot of passion and a lot of love, and you can feel that when you walk through the factory. So.
Yeah. Now, we've been talking about how technology helps you do business. I want to talk a little bit about how technology helps you do design. And Noz, I know that when we were talking earlier, you were telling me about technology that's helping you create things that you never imagined. And a good case study would be something that's coming up in the showcase, the lobster claw sofa.
Yes.
So it's such a compelling name. I love it. I'll never forget it. Tell us about how technology is helping you make that.
Definitely. Well, it's helping us in two ways. One, from the pure conception of it at all, and then two, from just actually discovering that technology, specifically CNC, like computer-aided building of very complex shapes and forms, is actually going to enable us to build exactly what we drew. And that is unhinged. That is actually unbelievable. Like we just saw it. So first off, credits to Hune and Marcali Designs at Hune. David from Marcali is the person who is helping us bring this to life. But basically, we submitted for the showcase house. We were going to do custom furniture. That was a big goal of mine in getting into the showcase house, was we wanted to submit for a room where we might get to do something custom. And then we did get included in the house, but they put us in a different room. We're in the dungeon. It's going to be great. Please come see it. It opens on April 29th. But downstairs is not the same space as the beautiful, extravagant octagon room upstairs, which another extraordinarily talented designer is doing, which means that the thing that we designed doesn't work. And so I was like, oh my God, how are we going to do the same level of cool, custom furniture, but downstairs? So one of our team members, Kate, who lives in South Carolina now, so we're already having to do this remotely, we were like using Miro, which is our whiteboarding technology, which gets like medium reviews in our office. Some people love it, some people hate it, and everyone hates it when it breaks. But we had a template of the thing that we were originally proposing, and then another overlay, because it needed to be, instead of a circular type of piece, it needed to actually just look one direction, because it's a movie room downstairs. So the entire purpose of the piece had to change, but we didn't want to lose the spirit of this thing, which we're calling the lobster claw. And so Kate had kind of started to configure it, and then I ended up actually just like with my mouse, just drawing over top of the whiteboard a shape that kind of roughly resembled what I wanted. And then she took it back, converted it into a SketchUp model, and then we figured out other angles on the sides, and then it got really out of control, and I was like, can we pause? Because now I'm getting very scared that we can't make this. And then as it turns out, like computer-aided furniture building is enabling us to just take the ridiculous thing that we drew with like 400 angles, and then the only thing was they were like, please do not use a loose cushion, because the loose cushion will look very bad with all of these obtuse angles, so we'll do a tight cushion. But other than the tight cushion, we're good to go. We can do this for you.
Oh, that's very
That's
cool.
magical,
Yeah,
isn't it?
that's very cool.
And it's
I can't wait to see it.
It's a frame. Like they haven't
Yeah.
done the seats, but the frame is done. I've seen it.
Yeah.
It's incredible.
Very cool. And what about you, Eric? How is technology changing the way you make your pieces?
So I second the CNC. So we were in Brooklyn for 12, 13 years, and we recently moved down to Georgia, where we got 4 acres of land and a big 32,000 square foot factory. But one of those reasons was to actually get our 4-axis CNC up and running, which has been fantastic. To think about it, draw it, and create it, and we could really create shapes and surfaces that you can't really do by hand. The fountain leg, for example, being one of them. So that was really enlightening, but we also used the top 3D modeling program, so I can design something in 3D, I can spin it around. It creates a lot of efficiencies because it means fewer prototypes that we have to go through. And on top of that, those can be rendered out. Another great service that we like to provide is, again, Hellman-Chang is extremely customizable. We rarely ever make the same piece twice. So we get tons of custom requests, and some of them, it's hard to even visualize what the designer is looking for and what we're coming back with. So we offer a service where we will make a full 3D custom rendering for you in the finished selection that you want. It becomes a multi-page PDF document with your firm at the top, your side mark. It's very turnkey. You just print it, show it to your client. It takes us about 24 hours to produce. We don't charge for it. So again, another bit of technology, using technology to service our clients in a better way. We know how difficult it is to specify and present these expensive pieces, so we're doing whatever we can to help with that.
And that was one of the most magical things. Sorry to interrupt.
Oh, no. Go
But
ahead.
so Eric and I recently met at Sloan Minnesota. It was like a couple months ago.
Yeah.
Not even. I
Not
don't
even,
know.
yeah.
Time is so fake.
It's crazy.
We were there, and he showing me these things, and he was like, oh, by the way, if you want this to be a full dining table, we can just do that for you. Or, like we had this nightstand, but then we can actually turn it into a full console table, and we can do that with however many legs. And it's because we've built all of our furniture in 3D, which means that there's like component parts that can be made flexible.
Yeah.
That was so exciting.
Yeah.
And for
Yeah.
me, I don't think of technology as simply like a tool or something that we have to deal with or some inevitability. Like for me, the fact that I know things can be built at all, because I don't know, like I'm not a person who knows deeply how to build stuff, right? I kind of know at a high level what goes on, but I've used a chainsaw, but that's it. I don't know how to make things that we specify. Just knowing that can be possible just blows up our creativity as a firm. Just to know like the things that we dream up can be created is incredibly powerful for creativity.
Right.
So it's almost like I really embrace it almost as part of the medium,
Yeah.
right? That it's like if you have paints and you're making something on canvas, like it's like
Right.
technology in this case is like a tool, like paint,
Yeah.
it's a medium.
Yeah, and as the 3D renderings become more ubiquitous with design firms, we are going to be very quick and ready to provide custom 3D models that they can drop in and present to the clients the next day. So
Oh,
we're
very
just
cool.
kind of getting ready for that kind of technology jump.
Very cool. Now let's talk about another kind of technology. I want to talk about social media. And Noz and Eric, I followed both of you on social media. And Noz, I noticed that on your social media accounts, I'm going to use Instagram for an example, the personal and the professional, there's no separation. So you talk about your work and your accomplishments, as well as things that go beyond design. You talked about recently the internment of your grandparents and your father during World War II. I've seen you, in addition to racism, I've seen you talk about trans rights, women's rights. And so I'm wondering, in terms of this technology, what does it mean for your business when you don't have that separation between professional and personal? What does it mean for you business-wise?
Yeah, well, certainly for me, and I don't think this is absolutely a universal by any means. This is something that is personal to me, and my goals for my life is that my career and any of my success necessarily reflects back on me as a person. So I am not a firm, like we are, right? That's a very big part of what I'm very proud of and what we build. But then there's the me behind all of it, and that needed for me to be a small business owner, the way that I see my practice and my sort of being in this world, and sort of claiming my right, so to speak, and then also like graciously accepting permission to be out here in the world and being visible. I necessarily had to include things that were important to me. I think that might be a generational thing, perhaps, because like all kind of Gen Z are super down with that, and they really like it and appreciate it. But I mean, for me, social media was this incredibly empowering thing. Like I was afraid for a long time. I was talking to Mary Jo about this. I started this firm in 2014, and I had like Facebook, right? Like, and I was very active on Facebook. I had been on, racial justice since it was when Eric Garner was murdered in 2014. Everything blew up for me in 2014. Basically, the matrix came down, and I realized, like, oh my God, like I'm not in a world where, as an Asian person, I am white ascending, like I'm next in line. Like this is a world that we live in where there is necessarily a system that was built on oppression of other people, and this is real, and I am a part of that. And there's hierarchies, and it's not fair, and I just have to live in this world and fight against it while also not losing myself in the fight, because I can't. If I were meant to do this, I would be a nonprofit. I can't do it full time. It just breaks my heart too much. So when I realized around 2020, which is kind of when everybody started having, more latitude to speak online about politics, I realized that I had also been very cowardly about sharing a lot of my political beliefs on Facebook, where I could say yes and no to friend requests, and I could edit it for, restricted friends only, or friends and friends of friends, or whatever. And I never put anything on global, because that was scary. And then I looked at my business and I realized I am not in alignment with the kind of integrity that I need to carry myself with. So I put it out there, and I realized, this is a medium where it can just either go into the void. It could be a thing that I shout into the universe, and it's an echo chamber of people who agree with me only. I could end up losing 1 million followers. As it turns out, I didn't. Apparently, everyone was already very liberal with me, who was already following me, and all the other people already weren't. And then it ended up actually becoming a part of who I am online, right? That I now realize it's such a medium for engagement, and it's a thing that people want. And I realize that technology, again, here is at the service of our humanity, right? That's actually what this is all for, if we allow it to be. We created this monster, and it can be ours to make the world better still. Mm-hmm. And so to the extent that I realized through doing all of this and putting more of who I am and what I believe into the social media universe, the stuff I was getting back was more of this, please. Like, we like the pretty pictures. We love pretty pictures. That's why we're on Instagram. But we love knowing that there's a person behind that. And I think that desire from so many people who follow my account, and by the way, I'm very careful. I don't say they follow me. They follow my account, right? Like, I'm pure. Most of these people have never seen me in person. That was really incredible. Just this sort of like powerful realization that for everything that I was putting out there, the stuff that people were also deeply connecting with was feeling like a person who has values and cares about other people in their lives and cares about their community. That is the person who is leading the charge on these beautiful pictures. And that was exciting. I don't know. It's difficult still sometimes, because then it feels like, if I don't have something good to say, then should I post this at all? Mm-hmm. Well, but I don't know. It's a work in progress always, the social media thing.
So, outside of a journalist talking about your dog and your dog's name in a live forum, has it ever gone wrong for you? It's never, turned out badly?
To be honest, the only times that I've ever gotten knocked so far on social media for doing something political was that I wasn't doing enough, which was actually kind of cool. I had posted something about trans rights, and then someone commented, they were like, well, you need to have a call to action. Like, you can't just say this. You need to tell someone where to donate their money or do something. And I was like, okay. Like, okay. Like, I'm not getting paid to do this. And I got defensive at first, I really did, because I don't like being, who likes criticism, right? Sure, note taken, thank you. I'm reasonably good at receiving feedback, but I wasn't prepared, because I was already trying to do the right thing. And someone was like, well, you're sort of doing that, but you're just shouting into a void. Like, where's my action? Where should I donate? So that was one thing that happened. That was really, the only other thing that has happened in social media that was a super negative was like, not actually about social media.
Yeah.
It was about like a disgruntled person.
I see.
So less relevant to technology.
Yeah. And Eric, I follow you on social media, and I've met Eric a few times. Every time I have laid eyes on this man, he is impeccably dressed. Every time. And if you go on his social media, you will see an impeccably dressed Eric Chang with eye protection and a sander making furniture. And I guess that's how you make beautiful case goods, right? You dress the part.
There's a very strict dress code at work, yeah.
And in all seriousness, I wonder, you told me that this building and your brand have thousands of stories that have never been told.
Yeah.
So how are you using technology to tell your story?
Well, I think that was really important in how we started. It was probably 2008, I want to say. And again, coming to this industry, I saw this amazing landscape of product and beauty and artisans, but there was no sense of branding or consumer awareness. I thought, my God, like the world is being deprived of all this magical product. And it was both a blessing and a curse, right? Because at the same time, I could take advantage of that. Like it did not take a lot for me to put a stake in the ground and develop a very clear brand message. And so, you probably see some of these images up there from our national advertising campaign, but I could tell this story about the brand that was very authentic, which was two childhood friends who are self-taught and are building furniture in this dusty Brooklyn wood shop, right? But we're wearing these nice suits.
Yeah, we're in nice suits. What are we doing?
Right. So to give you a sense of the final product that was coming and how serious we took our craft. But that was a very strong story that could be told and repeated and shared. And there was a time when things could really just start to go viral. And so it really kind of really catapulted our brand at a very, very early age. I mean, I say to this day, our brand is bigger than we are as a company. So that was pretty key, I think, to developing the company. And I say it all the time, there are a million stories in these design centers that have not yet been told, that have a huge audience that wants to engage with it.
Mm-hmm. Now, let's look even farther into the future. And I want to talk about a certain technology that I'm reading about, hearing about. I heard about it on NPR on the way over, and that's artificial intelligence. Now, there's something in the air and the ether right now that people are really, really nervous about AI and feel that, perhaps it's going to be the demise of society. And I think, hey, look, we're already ruining society with the tools we've got. Why are we worried about AI? And Noz, I know that you said, rather than being anxious about AI, you're really excited. So what do you think that's going to mean for you and business and design going forward?
Well, I think for me, at a very curious and personal level, I kind of want to feed like ChatGPT images from our portfolio to see how much more unhinged they can come up with a design. And what if you're already feeding it wild stuff? Like, what do you get back, right? I think that could be interesting. It could, in fact, even illuminate new ideas or new territories. Or it'll shred interiors apart and it'll just break the system. I would be very excited if I broke ChatGPT. But on the more like baseline, like let's actually be practical about what this could enable. And there are definitely a lot of risks, right? Like I don't know what I don't know. I haven't been in the tech sector for the last 10 years. So I'm kind of observing it from an enthusiastic consumer of news standpoint and not from the inside. But there's a lot of lowest common denominator stuff that I think so many of us don't need to be doing in interior design, right? Like what we should be doing, especially if we are to pretend that we are both at sort of an apocalyptic place in society and a renaissance in the sense that we sort of like fixed a lot of stuff societally. There are people actively trying to undo it, but there's so much goodness that is happening societally, right? Like I am at the core of what I believe an optimist about the ways that social justice is trying to move forward and people are starting to have these conversations. And so if I believe that we're sort of in both places, then we as an interior design and just sort of design community period, what we should be doing is continuing to elevate lives. We should be continuing to make life better because we are more creative and more thoughtful and more intuitive and able to do things at the service of our clients, right? Where our creativity and our ingenuity, when we are unshackled from the stuff that holds us back because we're having to do dumb stuff for 10 hours a day because things are broken or they're clunky or they're slow, like what if we were actually freed from all of the stuff that's really baseline and able as a design community to do so much more with our time? That is pretty powerful stuff if we think about it that way. And so for me, I see AI potentially helping people who might have never become our clients anyway, have a home that a very specific retailer would want them to have for their lives. And that's great. That person's life has been elevated, and I didn't have to be involved choosing stuff that doesn't make me come alive every day, right? And then two, like if it enables someone who feels like a freak in their own skin because they really want this thing that feels like a monster of a dining table, but it could come to life and they start that process with AI so that they can better communicate because we're visual animals, right? Like 80% of what we do is learn about and perceive and understand our environment through our eyes, for all of us who are able-bodied enough to have sight. We're not really able to convey that with language sometimes. And if ChatGPT or any other AI platform were able to have a client start communicating and conveying something just by like describing it into the text field, and then it spits something out, and they're like, it's kind of like this. And then they show that to a designer, like how much could that unlock in terms of all of our creativity? How much could that actually expand our definition of home? So I don't know, that for me is the stuff I get excited about.
Yeah, it kind of blows your mind. Eric, what do you think? Where do you see AI fitting into your business?
I think where we fit in with it, I don't see it really affecting us when it comes to furniture. Other product segments, maybe wallpaper or textiles, may be affected. I could potentially see like a D2C business where a consumer could use AI to create something crazy and then purchase a ream of wallpaper that they can peel and stick on. You know, I could see a business like that forming, which would be fun and exciting to see. But I don't really see it affecting us too much. I think in the way of, again, as a tool, if an interior designer can put in parameters online to say, this is what I'm looking for, this kind of budget, and therefore they get a huge swath of options for trade products, that could be beneficial. We just have to make sure that we're discoverable online first. I think that's incumbent upon us. But as far as technology is concerned, I think, I know there's a lot of existential fear around technology for the design trade. I think what we got to think about is take the technology portion out of it. Let's just focus on the fact that consumer culture has changed. And we have to meet our customers where they are now. We do not want to be the group that was a Blockbuster instead of a Netflix, right?
Yeah.
Can't go down that road. We see what happens with that.
So,
with technology, the only thing that it really does at its core is that it empowers our consumers, right? It gives them more information. So if you look at even an industry like streaming media like Netflix, right? The film industry was probably just terrified of it. But what happened as a result? Programming now is better than it's ever been. There's more and more money put into streaming media and film than it's ever been. And as a consumer, you have choice. And as an industry, it is so elevated. There's so much good programming and acting and storytelling out there. You're seeing the beginning of that right now within the design industry. I have never seen in America better product design and better talent from interior designers. It's already happening. So what does that mean? That means also consumers care more about home design than ever before. They're willing to spend a lot more money on it. There's a bigger pie for all of us, so there is nothing to be afraid of. We've elevated the industry. It will continue to elevate. And whenever you're in any kind of passion or artist industry, when the bar is raised, there is always something better, and people are always willing to spend more and more money on it. That's where we're at right now. So nothing to be afraid of. It just means that you guys get to be better designers, and there's more money coming down the pike.
Well, and I have a new personal mantra, be a Netflix, right? I'll think about that every morning. So my last question for you, and then we're going to open it up to the audience. Obviously, AI is just a piece of it. Technology is evolving so quickly, and I'm wondering, looking ahead in the next several years, what sector do you think there's going to be the most innovation in? Will it be procurement, communications with clients, creation, or something else? Where do you think that technology is going to speed ahead in relation to this industry?
For me, I think they're not mutually exclusive. I think procurement and all that, definitely that's like logistics. That needs massive, massive retooling. And we're well on the way. When you order a Hellman-Chang piece, there's anywhere from 35 to 200 steps along the way. We've digitized everything. So we know exactly where every piece is in the process. Every one of our craftsmen has to scan their process in and out. So there's no reason within a year or two that a designer can't log in and instantly see where in the process their Hellman-Chang order is, what the current ECD is. And we could track that all the way through to delivery in real time. They have that now for West Elm. Why can't we do it, right? So, and how valuable is that information for you as designers? So we're kind of trying to stay ahead of that so that when we're ready, it's out there for you guys.
Noz, did you have anything?
I'm just going to make a wish, which is the logistics side of shipping. I would love for that to get much better with the use of technology. So 100 years ago, I was friends with someone who created this tool for putting online all of the timetables for drivers, like long-haul drivers of 18-wheelers, and nobody wanted that. Everyone was resistant because it meant that they actually had to take their breaks, and they couldn't actually do a 13-hour drive nonstop and just be fueled on Red Bull. They needed to pause, and then people could see, and then that meant that the companies had to pay them overtime, so it was not a thing that people wanted. But we're also theoretically going to put robots in the driver's seat soon too, right? So for me, I am looking forward to a universe where we don't have so many shipping delays. I'm very hair-triggered and traumatized by shipping delays and sunken container ships and disappearing things because there's no way to individually track and RFID, just scan, why do we not have this? If I can put an air tag in my suitcase, then for a $80,000 unit of lighting, you should be able to put an air tag on that. I'll give you $99. Put an air tag on it so I know where in the freaking heck it is. It's so strange to me that we don't have that yet. But my hope is it's imminent, and it would make the logistics and procurement side slightly less painful, because then the wait is a safe wait. I think for us, with our clients, the thing about waiting is the uncertainty and feeling unsafe, because it means that things might be in progress and they might be on the way, but they might also have disappeared, or they're broken and someone's fixing it and not telling you. Having access to the information to know, all right, I'm waiting, but it's okay. It will get here. It just sucks to wait. I think would make our clients so much less restless.
And we are pretty close to that. We now have our own in-house crating. And we've got a great main freight partner. We can get any piece from our shop in Atlanta to anywhere in America in 5 to 7 business days. And we can RFI code it, we can actually, we photograph every piece before it leaves. So again, access to even seeing an image of the product before it goes in the crate.
People get so excited about that too. We're going to start doing more reports where we have little status updates. We're like, hey, guess what? We just got an update from the manufacturer, and here's your piece. Look how cute it is. It looks just like the picture. because this is also just a picture. It's not real yet. So yeah, that would be amazing. I love that.
I mean, wishes are being granted here, people, right here on this stage, right now. So let's open it up to our audience. Michael has a microphone. Does anyone have questions for our panelists or for our panel dog? Anyone? Yes.
Hey Noz, you sort of touched on this, how, sorry if that's really loud, how the future of digital design is allowing you to design new pieces that maybe you weren't able to before. In terms of interiors themselves, what are the clients asking for, or how has the interior changed from what you're creating? Does that make sense?
Yeah, I think so, definitely. Well, unfortunately, I am still a hostage to gravity, so that's the sixth wall, is I just stop needing things to sit on the ground. And I mean that because I am wanting to play with that with ChatGPT, is like gravity-less rooms. It's getting real wild over here. So things that have happened are people's willingness. It's actually really funny that you mentioned wallpaper. So wall finishes, our ability to convey ideas for custom decorative art finishes or weird patterns, and being able to do that in a way that shows it perspectively. And we've considered at some points like doing a VR headset where you could actually like stand in your room and walk around and see.
People do that.
Yeah, I decided I don't like it because it makes everyone car sick, and then like I don't want to have to sanitize the headset. You know, like that's
Practicality.
I would not wear someone else's face.
Yeah.
Like that's horrifying to me, like just acne, you know, like I can't be held responsible. But yeah, wall finishes has been one thing where just within a regular scope of interior design, technology has really blown up the ways that we're able to just mess around and have fun and treat walls as truly canvases that, that can be bizarre and amazing. And then the fact that we can take those textures and drag them over crown moldings and over onto the ceilings and show that to a client, and then turn the view and show it from another direction, and do that without having to hand illustrate or, you know, delete stuff and start over. Like we can just continue to manipulate these pieces that are layers in our Photoshop files. That's been really cool. And then, yeah, I mean, just the fact that they know, like the fact that our clients know that things can be custom makes them more desiring of custom things. So it's kind of a good positive feedback loop that way, where when you tell a client, you know, you don't have to find a banquette for this corner, like we can just make you one. That unlocks a lot of possibility, because then they get all excited that they could have a custom built-in back cushion that looks really amazing and utilizes multiple kinds of materials, and we can mix and match fabrics, and then the seat can be something else, and then we can have special legs underneath, or we don't even need legs because it can be installed into the wall. Knowing that things can be made custom and we can show that to them, that has been really powerful for us. So it's walls and furniture when I think about interior scope. Anything that goes into architectural, I think like everyone knows that architects can like dream up new, you know, openings between rooms and new big amazing windows and stuff like that. But yeah.
Anyone else? Well, we're drawing to a close, and I'm a little bit worried about something. The baby is sleeping. So let's give our panelists a very quiet applause.
She's fine, but thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much. I wish my child were this well behaved. He's not. There's a reason you haven't seen him up on the stage. I'm going to thank you so much, Eric. Thank you, Noz. It's been wonderful talking to you. And I'm going to toss it back over to Michael, who has more news for us.
Thank you all for participating. This was a really informative and exciting discussion. I've been looking forward to it, as I said, since Eric and I conceived it quite some time ago. Thank you guys for braving the weather and coming out to see us. And I wanted to invite all of you again to join our reception following the keynote in Riggs, Schumacher, and Cosentino. Thank you.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.